on episode 3.
I know, I can't believe it either. Here we are, episode 3, where we are going to be talking all about Underworld wisdom, the seasonal deities, the descent, the renewal, because the energy has been potent.
It has been potent and a bit crazy and chaotic and full of life wisdom and everything.
It
Yeah.
has. We had a lot going on this week for not just us, but like collectively. So before we talk about the seasonal deities and all that's to come with it, let's talk about this crazy energy of this week because the cosmos has definitely been screaming fall mode and it just continues to redirect us inwards, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, softness and surrender, isn't it?
Yeah, poor Agna here. She has been getting the very loud message of softness, and her fire sign is resisting so hard. But we are in the deep, 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 deep waters of Scorpio season, so
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be putting water on us to really push down on the softness and the surrendering.
Yeah, I feel like the guides, the spirits, the universe has been giving me signs and symbols and signals, but I'm I'm choosing to ignore them for now. But yeah, let's dive into the cosmic energy.
Unlike Agna, I think we should all listen to them and not ignore. But yeah, this week energy has definitely been giving us some twists and turns and nudgings and pausing and rethinking. It's been really, really loud and also definitely whispering at the same time, like, hey, pay attention, something is shifting inside. So
Yeah.
as we had mentioned last week, we're still in the retrogrades. So retrograde, even though we may think of it as it being evil because we don't want to do the shadow work anymore and we don't want to surrender, um, it really is medicine and it's been showing us and revealing a lot of truth, especially in the communication department. And actually, what day is it? I keep forgetting my days. The 20th. So today is the new moon, and yesterday it just happened. And Mercury also went into like Kazemi, which basically means that the planet is sitting in the heart of the sun. So yesterday and today, while we're recording this today, which is November 20th, it is just like potent. And even if you look at your Schumann resonance
Yeah.
radar, there's a lot of solar flare action happening right now that after a week of quietness. So it's kind of like interesting how this new moon in Scorpio with the retrogrades in the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio as well, like how much water magic is just bringing down like a lot of like that inwardness.
Yeah, we're feeling it. We're feeling it. It's so potent.
Yeah, and I know we're all waiting for that clarity to come in, but it's definitely going to be coming in next week after Thanksgiving, after the holidays, towards the end of the month. So this new moon is just all about the most transformative moons of the year and definitely giving rebirth magic to it. I know I've been feeling it to my sense. So I definitely did a burn ritual yesterday for this new moon to release and to shed. And it was definitely tapping into a lot of magic. So this is the time to kind of, even when you're listening to this in a couple of days, like to still hone in and tap into this energy that's happening right now by doing these devotional tools like pulling cards or doing rituals like we talked about in our last episode. Because even if you are someone who doesn't see the clarity or the signs and keep asking for more signs, you're going to be getting a lot of signs.
I feel a little bit personally attacked here. The
I'm only
universe
saying it because
interrupting.
I'm also getting loud signs as well. So, and Saturn also being very loud this week too. So it's definitely trying to give us a strict but loving guide. So it's pushing us to our truth and into our choices and to take the responsibility of finally creating a better structure that's going to bring us into our new season of life. So yeah, the energy is amazing right now for boundaries, for healing old patterns, and for saying, okay, I am done with this cycle. I am ready to shed. I am ready to move forward. So,
Yeah.
what better time in this year when holidays are starting to start up? And I know family things are going to be popping up and old relationships might be popping up. This is the time to definitely be practicing that energetic boundaries and
Yeah.
maybe shifting old cycles and patterns into new ones. And a quick little shout out to the Aries because I read something that a lot of people are going to be noticing the Aries people, especially in work and in leadership and in shining. So if you have Aries in your chart, just make sure you watch your energy and don't go full wildfire. I know my little Leo friend here.
I don't know if I have Aries in my chart anywhere. I can't remember.
I don't know if you have Aries either, but I'm thinking of it as fire signs too. So
Okay.
make sure you're eating your grounding foods and you're drinking water and resting, that your flames doesn't dim but slow down a little bit. So with all of that being said, with this retrograde will be ending next week as well, which is why we're kind of waiting for that clarity, that confirming clarity. So this is the time to finish anything up. Don't start anything new. Reflect on it, see what you did right, what you did wrong, and how you're going to work it and tweak it for the next phase.
Yeah.
And it's just really a deeper level of renewal after this Scorpio new moon and after this retrograde. So, we just got just about 6 weeks left of this year. So, definitely all about, yeah. It's crazy how fast this year went, right?
Yeah. Didn't think about it
So,
like that.
this is all about. I know. It wasn't until my beautiful friend brought it up. She's like, just 6 weeks left. And I'm like, dang, really?
Yeah.
So, it's pretty crazy. So, this is all about buttoning up loose ends and finishing things up, and really grounding yourself in. So, this is the season of descent. This is the season where the veil is thinning some more. This is when the world goes quiet, especially in the snowy areas. The earth is pulling back into itself, and this is the moment where connecting with deities, archetypes, and guides can almost feel like a support team, having someone with you to be with you in these dark moments, because it's going to get dark, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's just, like how Mother Nature is. It's going inwards. The snow is coming in, the greenery is going away, and um, time to hibernate in a way while we root in some more into a new foundation for this new year to come.
Yeah, yeah, very beautifully said. I feel like this is what we've been feeling and what the collective has been feeling. And we need to remember to honor those, cycles of the year, seasons of the year and what is actually saying us. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so, what better way to guide us during this dark time is to have some fire in our life?
Yeah. Yeah, some fire and some burning things away and burning things down. Ha ha ha.
Yes, I'm here for the burning.
Right, so I feel like, yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful segment going into the deities that we want to talk about. And it's funny because, again, me and you are so different, but at the same time similar as well. So, like, the
Yes.
deities that I want to talk about today is Medena, being the forest goddess and, my brand name, and Gabija being the fire goddess of Lithuania. And I feel like, I mean, yes, I feel like they're not fully, your traditional descending goddess. They're not really like, they're not all about the darkness and the descending. Like, they're not. But I feel like they've been really speaking to me lately, and they've been really, yeah, I would say like speaking to me and showing different signs and elements. So I feel like this is why I really want to talk about them. So basically, what I really want to start talking about is Gabija, the fire goddess. And coincidentally, I started thinking about her when we did the last podcast episode, when we actually recorded talking stuff about the rituals. And I just felt like a lot of fire activation in my chart, like in me, in my charts, just in everything. And I mean, everyone knows by now that I'm like super fiery person. And I feel like I always had that fire, but it wasn't really taking a shape or form or something. Like it wasn't really coming through as something. With having these rituals that I've been doing, which we're gonna talk about later on in another episode, and all that, I just felt like this fire has been alchemized into something. Like this fire has taken a form, a shape, and a deity. And I can't even remember actually how I don't even remember. Yeah, it's funny. I don't even remember how I actually came about talking about this whole fire goddess Gabija. I don't even. I think I was just like making sense. I was just like thinking about things, and I was being in my head and thoughts, and I was like, yeah, like fire goddess, and my Lithuanian roots and ancestry. So yeah, so very like long story short, I just felt like my fire has now taken shape as a fire goddess Gabija. And basically, in our mythology, right? I just have some notes here to make sure that I'm like saying things properly. In my culture, right? Fire goddess Gabia, she's all about the the purification of the home, the safety of the home, the warmth and the protection of the home. So yes, she can be like fiery and like blazing fire, burning everything down, seeking justice, but also like in Lithuania, she's being portrayed as that fireplace in the house, right? That warmthness, that devotional, that softness as well. Like the fire can be soft and it can be like the light, like being the light of the house. And when I started like kind of going, I started like researching more about Gabia, and it's funny because I know all of these things because I grew up with knowing about Gabia, right? I grew up hearing stories about her. I grew up like learning about her in school, but I forgot. And when I started like reading up again, and now I was like, yes, like all of this makes so much sense. Like what's coming through to me, like me being the fiery person, me trying to learn these lessons from life about softness and surrendering, right? And being the fire of the house. It's not about burning everything down. It's about tending the fire. It's about how can you form all of these, the passion and the fire into something beautiful, something nourishing, and yeah, all of these beautiful things. So
It's very much like giving hearth of the home.
yes, 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 yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's really beautiful, and I feel like it helps me, and all of this helps me understand more about where I stand with my fire and how can I use that fire to help others and help to, you know, how can I help to alchemize? I mean, alchemize is a big buzzword, but I do feel like alchemize here is the right word, especially with fire. And another thing as well that
Mm-hmm.
my partner actually brought up is about amber. Like Lithuania is very famous for its amber. And amber is like orangey red kind of color, and we get a lot of it in our coastal line. Like we have a lot of it, like we find it naturally. And my partner actually pointed out, he was like, don't you want to do some rituals with amber? And then I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Like amber looks very similar as fire. And then I started going like deeper into more like the rituals and like Lithuanian folklore and literature. There are people who are actually doing these rituals with amber and fire to invoke these Lithuanian goddesses, right? To invoke this fire, to have this like beautiful what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like the main ritual that Lithuanians are doing with amber and fire is when people are getting married, they have like a big bonfire, right? And then the people who are getting married, they're holding their hands together, like looking in this fire, like imagining that their whole life is full of passion, full of love, full of light, the warmthness from the fire. And then they like make wishes for their marriage, and they throw amber dust into the fire, and this kind of symbolizes the the magic, the alchemy of two of them, and like having this beautiful connection with the fire, with closeness, with woman being devoted to the man in that like in that really beautiful union way. So yeah, it's been really calling me, and I know already like how what kind of women circles I want to hold to speak about this more and to actually do those rituals and actually invoke all of these like all of this beautiful Lithuanian ancestry to what I have to say. So yeah, I hope that listeners are
So
actually
beautiful.
excited about this as well as I am.
I love hearing this. This is so cool, especially like when you bring it in your roots. It's like something that's been so dormant in your
Yeah.
mind, like learning about this when you were little, and then to be reactivated when you're, tapping into your sacred selfness. It's just so freaking cool.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like I said, like the best way I can describe it, and the words I'm hearing now as we're recording is like my fire has the shape and the form, and like I know how to then use it to help it and to again to devote and everything. So and then the second goddess that I want to talk about is Medena. So again, not necessarily a dark descent kind of goddess, but because my brand name, the Wild Medena, it's in the name. So I really want to talk about it and to kind of bring more awareness of who this goddess is. So basically, she is the forest goddess of Lithuania. So some literature is saying that she's very independent forest goddess and she's guarding the forest from people. Some literature is saying that she's actually the huntress archetype and she's more warrior like. So again, we I don't really have a actual like a black and white factual statement of what it is. The literature really varies. So I tend to blend the two of them together and kind of see what magic comes up. So, she is represented with intuition, instinct, that inner wild woman knowing, and she is known to like there's a lot of tales that she's morphing from one animal to another. So like she can be a deer one day and a wolf another, and then like she can transform into an owl the next, and she's kind of like collecting all of this different animal wisdom in the forest to protect the forest, to make sure the forest stays as a sacred ground. And she's very primal, very like independent, but not in a bad way, like in a very like grounded, independent way. And again, I feel like me blending everything with fire and me being quite like, wild woman by nature, like I feel like I am always the wild one, right? The free one, the liberated one. I feel like it's really beautifully like I can see now how it connects with everything and how, other women, and other people listening, how can they connect with that the inner wild Medena because our culture is not Lithuania is not that big of a country. Like we don't have a lot of people living in Lithuania, right? Like it's a small country, so
Yeah.
we don't hear a lot about mythology, and I really really want to bring that forward. And yeah, so just basically, it's the Medina represents the untamed soul, the untamed woman, and again, some literature is saying that in the old ancient times when the hunters were going into the forest to hunt for the deers, the hunters were actually leaving some what's the word I'm looking for, offerings to Medena. Like they were honoring Medena as being, she was being the guardian of the forest. And so there's some literature saying that they were actually like people. We had one king in Lithuanian history, so it was like said that like, well, again, we don't know the facts. It's folklore, but it was said that this one king Mindaugas that we have, he was actually going to the forest, leaving offerings to Medena to make sure that then she protects him and his people who are going to hunt because it was a normal practice back then. So I feel like it's a beautiful
Mm.
thing because again, it's like the Lithuanians were pagans at one point, so we learn how to have this harmony because yes, hunting existed and everything, but how can this be done in a very harmonious way, in very like I'm respecting the nature, I'm as one with nature, and how can you again use use your heart towards it? So I find that really beautiful, and yeah, I hope that people listening can actually really take something out of the stories because I feel like they're beautiful. And I'm sure that there's a lot of different stories from different cultures who are very similar to Medena and Gabija. So we would love to know, who like which ones are very similar. And I know that Diana, the huntress, is very similar to Medena, but again, whichever literature you choose. But yeah, I'm always curious to know more. So that's kind of what I have to say about the goddesses and what they have to bring and say. And yeah,
Love it. I love it all. I love it all. I definitely resonated with it all, especially like as someone who connects with Athena a lot as
yeah,
a warrior. You know, as warrior being part of my name too,
hmm,
and the way how you talked about how she shifts into different animals, like I resonate a lot with like the wolf and the owl. So that's just so cool how she just, takes the shape of different forms. It's very very huntress, very seeker like.
yeah.
So cool to hear about this.
Yeah, yeah, I love talking about it, and I really want to like dive deeper into all these teachings because I feel like it's really cool. Like, it's part of my heritage. Like, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
tell
something that,
me.
we do need to hear more, especially like I mean, I didn't know a lot about Lithuania until you came into my life. So it's just so fascinating to hear more about it. And Gabija, I
Gabia,
keep
yeah.
saying Gabia. Yes. So that was a really cool thing. So when you shared that with me, I was just so excited for you to dive into it in this episode, especially with amber. So I feel like now you need to get some amber in your life
Yes, yes, that's the
as one of
plan.
your like stones.
That's the plan.
So
Like, I really want to bring amber from Lithuania, to make sure that I feel it more because, like, I looked it up online, like, you can order it really easily, but I was like, nah, I want to go home and then take it from there.
yes. Oh, how potent is that? So potent.
So potent. So potent. Right. Tell me about the deities that you are really resonating and aligning.
Well, I resonate with a lot. So while Agna brings in with this fiery Lithuanian goddess medicine, which I absolutely adore, I'm just gonna take us into the underworld, of course,
Of course.
because that's what this season is calling for. Yeah, this season definitely pulling us inwards. It's all about the underworld, and with this deep, deep Scorpio water, how can I not talk about this for a second?
Potent. Potent.
So right now, for me, what's really resonating, especially during these icky seasons, is Persephone is one of them. Persephone is associated with the spring. She's very much spring goddess and the daughter of oh my god, Demeter. Yes, Demeter. So she's the daughter of Demeter. So um, she's not just spring, but she's also part of the fall and the winter. So a quick little like backstory of Persephone, if you don't know anything about her, is that so she is, the goddess of spring and earth and flowers and all that stuff. And Hades thought she was so beautiful. There's many different variations of the story, so I'm just gonna go with one that can resonate with everyone. He was so in love with her and decided he wanted to snatch her up and take her down to the underworld and took her and made her into the queen of underworld. And when he took her during the time of fall and winter. And when that happened, everything died because she is, the goddess of creation, of earth, like in the sense of like the greenery. And everything died and the earth was, no longer vibrant. And Demeter was also part of, the goddess of earth and stuff. And so she became depressed and the fertility and everything, like the crops definitely took a hit during this time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until there was like a maid or a servant that came up to her and did a funny little flash. Again, this is a part of a variation, and I'm going to keep this little PG for our podcast. But she did a flash at her, and Demeter thought it was hilarious, and it brought life back to her and purpose and sense again. So she went back, made a deal with Hades. So Persephone rises every spring and summer, and then descends back into the underworld during fall and winter. So this is the time of the year for Persephone to descend into the underworld and everything starts to die and goes inwards. So, this is where we are right now. She's just not
Yeah.
the queen of underworld. She is the embodiment of transition. She descends, she transforms, and then she is rebirthed every year in spring. So, I've had many descents and seasons in my life. I'm sure many people can relate to this. Even right now, during this heavy, intense energy, people are going through descents. So, some that speak very loudly to me is, when I went through cancer as a child and the healing of that, going very inwards and the transformation and rebuilding my identity and coming back and rebirth again. And then for not to then later on become a mother, another descent inwards and rebuilding and rebirthing and transformation. So all of that descent and transformation and rebirthing has made me rediscover the magic after all these years of survival. So these were all underworld moments and not just dramatic ones. You know, these are very deep initiations that happened in my life and why I resonate with Persephone so much. So every time I went in, I rise again. And one thing that Persephone has taught me, which is funny when I think about it, I was actually thinking about it this morning when I was going over my notes, is that darkness is not a punishment. It's a classroom, and it's where noise falls away and you can finally hear your soul. And as someone even in my HD, one of my fears is darkness. So growing up as a little girl, I was always scared of the darkness, always scared of what's inside there because I did not know what was inside there. And this past year, I've been leaning so heavy on my one channel, which is curiosity. And I've learned to take that mindset of, I don't know what's in the darkness. It's so much unknown. Like, to why was I really scared of the darkness? Why was I so scared of that quietness? What is it about the darkness that made me feel that way? And how can I transition that perspective of it being so unknown and scary to what potentialness is out there and how I haven't explored it yet and what more can I learn from this experience? So even though a descent can feel like everything is falling apart, it's sometimes all about just slowing down, grieving that version of yourself that you've outgrown. It's sometimes resting, and it's sometimes choosing yourself over and over again. And with every descent, there's always an opportunity of picking yourself up and rebirthing yourself into the next season or version of yourself, almost like a hermit crab. You know, we're outgrowing the shell,
Yeah.
we're soft, so we gotta hide. And we finally find our new shell after all this searching, and then we could put it on and embody that new shell. So, for those who are listening, I'm going to share how can you ask yourself to invoke this Persephone archetype. You can start by asking yourself, what am I descending into right now? And what truth am I finally ready to face without distraction? Something that, we don't talk a lot about in the spiritual community, which I've noticed, is that we are doing so much of this healing and work while also being in a modern life that comes with responsibility and life
Yeah, it's very busy.
and duties. Yeah, it's very busy, especially during this time of year of the holidays and the family and the reunions and all this do. Whereas like back in the very like ancestor days, like in the temples or in the indigenous like cultures and villages and stuff, like during these times when people were doing these initiations, they would be, locked away and to themselves in
Mhm.
order to really process this and to see the truth without distraction while the village took care of the other X, Y, and Z. So it's taking a lot of grace for us to do this. Like, what version of me is ready to rise as I sink into this and rise into the spring? Like, this is also a good time to write almost like a permission list. What am I allowed to release? What am I allowed to feel? And what am I allowed to soften?
Yes. These are beautiful. I want to go and journal on these questions actually when we finish recording.
Yes, and I will try to make a note that to put this in the description too, so that you can reference back to these beautiful questions because this is a time to really reflect on those things. So, with that being said, that's my first one, Persephone. And then here comes my second one, which is Hecate, which she has been, her name has been dropped all over the place since Halloween and Samhain. Because to me, when I think of Persephone, she is the journey. And then when I think of Hecate, she is the guider. She is the one that's holding the torch. She is the one that's standing in the crossroad. She is intuition embodied. So she just a little backstory on Hecate. She is the protector of women when it comes to navigating the thresholds like birth, like death, like identity shifts, the healings, the endings, and the new beginnings. She rules the dreams, the subconscious, the symbols, signs, gut instincts. She is very witchy in those ways. And she is everything you feel before you can fully understand. And I mean, I just love Hecate a lot in that sense. And we actually did a Hecate ritual last month too. So she definitely brings in a lot of guidance during this journey to the underworld.
Mhm.
And how I connect to her in the past is whenever I feel lost, when I feel like I'm standing at crossroads, unsure where to go in my path. She's the energy that comes through as almost like she doesn't push, she doesn't drag, she just lights the way that's already belongs to you. So we have all these paths in our lives, and wherever you are in your life that you're seeking for in that timeline moment, she will light up the one that you're seeking for. It's almost like she's a whisper and to trust what you already know.
What I just actually thought about what you was talking about both of these deities is, to me, they're like very like underworld type thing, right? Like they're very like going deep under and everything. And then like you have a lot of water. So that's like underwater, isn't it? You're very like dark and like depths of the feelings and depths of everything. Like that's why, you're the sage part of the podcast. Like, and I feel like even it's fun that you even chose the deities that like are all about going into the underworld, into the darkness, into the depth of everything. That is really cool.
I mean, what better time when we're deep in Scorpio water? Like being a
Exactly.
Pisces, like just like my sun and moon is in Pisces. So my waters are very, very deep. And during these water moments of Scorpio, it's like I know I mentioned this to Agna like yesterday, like it just the way how it feels to me, it just feels like I'm underwater and there's just pressure everywhere, like I'm just underwater. And sometimes these can be very like feeling like overwhelming, like drowning, but at the same time, that's what happens when you're scared, right? You just start to panic and you're like trying to gasp for air, but what really these deities are asking is not to panic, but to kind of like realize that there is safeness in these dark waters. There is safeness in the dark in general, in the underworld, because it's almost like acting as like a chrysalis or a cocoon. It's where you can really find your inner self and have a chance to really connect
Yeah.
with your own higher source. So, ways to tap into Hecate. I know I mentioned there is a ritual that would be coming out in our ritual book, but there's some other easy ways like paying attention to your dreams this week. Um, I know right now my dreams are a little scattered, so I'm having a hard time really listening into my dreams. So if you're like me and it's scattered, that's okay. That's part of the reprogramming. But if you are having vivid dreams, really look into them, write them down. And sometimes you'll notice when you start documenting them, there'll be a pattern. And that's Hecate with her symbols and patterns. Notice the repeated symbols. Notice the repeated animals that keep coming up in your life. And really sit with these symbols and repetitions and kind of think about what path feels like truth in my body. And sitting with that and maybe lighting a candle and saying, okay, I am ready. Show me what I am ready to see.
Yes, 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 yes. And with the fire as well, with what I will say about Gabia later on. Yeah, it's connected. Everything is connected.
Yeah, it's all connected. So between Persephone guiding us into the depths and Hecate lighting the way, this season is really about trusting your inner world. It's about the slow magic. It's about the quiet clarity, even if you think it's not clarity, it is clarity. Honoring your cycles and letting your soul speak louder than the fear. Like me going
Yes.
back into the like my whole fear of darkness, right? So just letting your light shine in the moments of darkness and not being afraid to let it shine. So with all of that happening with this retrograde and traveling inwards, it's the perfect moment for both descent and guidance from these deities.
Yeah, exactly. Beautifully said. I don't think I have anything else to add here because it's you summarize it so potently beautiful.
Potently beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that being said, there are other. Agna has some tips over here, right, for how to work with your fire deities and energies, right, that you can potentially tap into this week with all of this potent energy.
Energy. Yeah. So with me, what I have to say about so Medina, right? She's all about the forest goddess. So anything that's aligning you with the forest or with nature, and it's all about how can you bring that forest to your home? How can you find some, maybe you can go out to the park and hug a tree and, be that weird kid that's actually hugging a tree, but like that's the medicine of it. Like that's the medicine of it. So I would say like it's all about going in nature and being in nature and being as one as nature. That's Medina rituals. Like I'm not gonna say like be at home and do something at home. No, Medina is all about being outside. It's all about being in nature. And again, with like depending where you live, like here in the UK we have the seasons changing now. Barely any trees have any leaves, so it's like it's that again like that shedding, they're releasing the descent into. So like that smell in the forest is very different now because of the change of the seasons. So how can you align yourself with that? And then in terms of Gabija, the fire goddess, so what I want to start implementing in my life is lighting a candle and just talking with the candle, like saying that Gabija, I'm asking for your protection and for that softness as fire and passion as fire. Like how can you talk with, I mean, there's not really a guide of what you need to say. It's like whatever comes naturally to you, but like how can you talk with the goddess of asking the home protection, the that fire of the home, the fireplace of the home. How can you be guided and protected to have the wisdom of her? So I would say lighting a candle and just meditating on that candle, and just aligning yourself with that. So these kind of like a very very small simple rituals that you can embody the goddess that I've talked about.
I love that. Especially like the Medina one. I mean, that sounds so in tune with you. You're always out and walking.
Yeah, I love it. Like you're not gonna find me in the city in the concrete jungle. I'm always gonna be outside hugging a tree.
I love it, especially the note about the scent, because I've noticed that too. Even though I'm, in Florida, and there's no snow or anything, there are where I live a couple pine trees,
Yes.
and I can smell it always this time of the year. It's just so weird because they're kind of far away, but it's so weird and so cool at the same time. It's just like you if you have a good strong sense of smell, you can smell the season shifting and you can
Yes.
smell like certain plants, and it's definitely, this is, the time of year to really lean in that sense, to be in the present moment, to slow down.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and I know I have already mentioned a couple things to tap into my deities, but just to recap, so with Persephone, you know, she's really good with the descent, the journey. So a good way to tap into her is journaling. So again, the question is, what part of me is ready to be released? And what version of me is ready to rise? So you're releasing and going inwards, and then putting in your roots down in order to rise for spring.
Yeah.
And the new moon was definitely really good about planting these seeds as well. So this was a very good time. Like, that's why I was saying it's almost like a rebirth moon. It's so potent. It almost feels eclipse like. So these were the time to plant these seeds in. And even though it's going into winter, so it's not like it's going to grow, but those roots are going to start digging in deeper and deeper and deeper. And then spring and summer, we're going to see the fruits of these seeds that we have planted.
Yeah.
And then Hecate, as I mentioned, lighting candle. She's, very like she's the torch barrier. Or you can stand at a doorway if you feel called to communicate with her because she's she's always at crossroads. You can place a small offering at your altar, like salt or herbs or a candle, and just asking for her guidance quietly with a candle lit and just sitting in with that darkness and that quietness and seeing what your intuition says in that moment. And you'd be surprised what you can hear. And also don't be don't beat yourself up if nothing happens as well, because one experiences these things differently. So just make sure that you're giving yourself grace whenever you're doing any of these kinds of rituals, that sometimes you'll get the magic and sometimes you don't. It's just a matter of like the intention and being present within the moment, and to just keep trying. It's all an experiment at the end of the day, and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so these don't have to be big dramatic things like we mentioned in the last episode. It comes down to just being devotional.
Yes, being devoted to your rituals and being devoted to the change of seasons and the change of that, the wheel of the year and all these things.
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah.
with that being said,
It's safe to say that we are closing the circle of today's episode, isn't it?
yes, it comes to down to our card reading time of the episode.
Yeah.
And
Curious what the cards are saying.
yeah, this time I'm going to be doing tarot cards. And I'm going to do a 3-card spread. So I'm going to be asking what we are shedding, what we are integrating, and what is emerging.
Ooh.
So, right now, what are we shedding for this time in this new moon? What are we letting go? What is this last bit of shedding that is needed for this year? Because we got 6 weeks left.
Can you see that the cards are flying out already?
And then, yeah, that's the first one. And then the next one is, what are we integrating from this? So we shed, and what are we going to be integrating from this moment? What is the lesson? What's going to come out of this?
What? The cards are flying off the table.
And then lastly, what is emerging from this? So what is going to be coming out for spring? What is going to be coming out next year? What is the fruition of the seeds that we are planting right now? It almost wants to come out, but it's not ready to come out, the card. Oh, well, there was 2 cards that came out together. That's interesting. So we went from 3-card spread to 4-card spread.
The cards want to speak. The cards want to speak.
The cards want to speak. The spirits want to speak. They're speaking loudly. So the first one is what we are shedding. So we got the reverse card of the star.
Okay.
Showing it right now. If you're listening to it, I'm showing it in the video. So the star is all about success, opportunity, truth, fairness, and rebirth. And with it being with it being upside down, we are shedding that unfulfilled hopes, shedding that disappointment, shedding the doubt and the despair, which is quite interesting because that's what I wanted to shed.
But again, it's all about the shedding. It's all about the transforming. And again, the word that's keep coming to me is alchemy. It's like, how can you alchemize everything that you're feeling shedding to something beautiful, to like a fruition? And again, like, how can you use the fire as well because the fire is like, yes, it's burning something, yes, but it's also, you can transform things to ashes, and then the ashes are fertilizing the soil and the ground. So it's like you're changing everything.
Exactly. And it's also about learning how to use, like when you're alchemizing, using how to use these elements into a way that benefits you.
Yeah.
Moving on from the shedding into integrating, I got the 10 of Wands upside down. And that is completeness, success and endeavor, and returning. So it's all about integrating the there is always another way to do something instead of just carrying all of these things with us into this new world, right? And this new year.
Yeah.
It's about, okay, how can I put this down and only take what's needed? But even then, this energy is still asking, button it all up, close it all up.
Yeah.
Don't take anything with you because it's just weighing you down. And then the two cards that came out together is what is emerging. And so the first card that stands out to me that is emerging, which we have pulled this card before, is the Magician.
The same card coming back.
And it's quite cool is the Magician is, creative power, it's skill, it's adaptation, it's original, it's self-confidence, it's the beginning of creative endeavors. And this card is upright too. So we are letting go of these hopes, these not hopes, but unfulfilled hopes. We're letting go of the unfulfilled hopes, this disappointment, this doubt, this despair, and we're integrating ways on how to let it go and see a different way in order to embody this archetype of the Magician where you can make your imagination real. But it seems like there's something tied to it, which is the Five of Wands in reverse, which is the energy of unexpected and conflict and movement and change. So this is, with it being reverse, it's passive, it's scattered, it's desire, it's complex, and can be a little tricky. So to me, what comes to my mind immediately is coyote medicine. So it's like, yeah, you're going through and you're shedding all of this and to get this embodied fired horse magician.
Yes.
But with that success, with that creative power, with that skill and that confidence, there's going to be some complex energy behind it, this desire, like almost like, don't let this success get in your head. Coyote's going to be right there to keep you humbled, to make sure that at the end of the day, you're staying authentic and true to yourself.
Yeah. Cards are speaking again.
Yes. So this is definitely, as I would say, potent. And something to think about and reflect into this. So going back into some reflective mode, are you ready to let go of all of these doubts and really let go of it? Because you don't need to carry all of this with you to the new year. We got 6 weeks left, and that feels like a lot and also feels like little. So it's time to drop it and let it go and step into this new archetype, but also at the same time having your tool belt on, because you're going to need a lot of tools to keep you grounded and humbled.
Yes.
To stay in that authentic vibration.
Yes, it's very, very potent. And I feel like, yet again, like listening to all of the things that the cards were saying, I really feel the pull again to do ritual after we finish recording because it's all about releasing and shedding what doesn't serve us. And as like there's so much stuff is coming up with this Scorpio new moon and like just the season in general. So it's like, what can you shed that you don't want to carry after 6 weeks, you know what I mean? Cards are speaking.
Yeah. So in this season, of descent, may you remember that you are not walking alone in the dark.
Yes.
And call on your deities, call on your support system, call on your guides, your angels, or whatever it may be. Because when you walk with your guides, your ancestors, your inner fire, your intuition, and the wisdom of every goddess who has ever descended and risen again, that's going to be your lifeline, your power through these last 6 weeks. So may this week bring you that extra clarity, that softness, and that return to yourself as we let go and shed and step into that magician.
Oh, yes. Yes. Very beautiful ending.
Yes. So that concludes our beautiful circle.
Yeah.
And may you leave your comments and what you learned and Like Agna mentioned, like if you have any deities that you speak
resonate with.
to, share with us and we want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, we want to hear more about different deities and like, what they represent to you and how they make you feel and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, keep saging, keep seeking, keep remembering, and until next time,
Keep remembering. Bye.
bye.